So welcome everybody to our next session at Security Buyer Live. In this panel discussion, I am joined by David Ward, Peter Harrison and Adrian Moore from the City Security Council. And we're going to be talking about all things security today in frontline officers. So first, we're going to get a little insight into what the City Security Council is all about, the recent and future expansions, some events, training and challenges in the market currently. So first of all, David, I'm going to come to you as the founder of the council. Could you start by giving us a little introduction into who the City Security Council is and its primary mission for the UK security landscape?
Yes, of course, Rebecca. So the City Security Council is a collective of probably the leading security companies in the UK. The ability to join this requirement of an ACS accreditation as a minimum, and we are looking for companies who are able to work collectively and collaboratively across many different areas. So we have a membership in London of circa 40 companies, which doesn't sound very much, but those 40 companies represent over half of the industry turnover, which the industry claims is about £5 billion at this current time. So those 44 companies are some of the largest and most significant companies in the UK. And recently we've had an expansion into Manchester, which Peter will talk about in a moment, which has brought even more of the industry's better companies to us. And we continue to grow that. And it's about standards. It's about working collaboratively, as I said just now, sharing intelligence and sharing testing and exercising. But that is primarily what we are about.
Well, thank you. And it's amazing to see the growth that has happened over such, a short period, being founded in 2018. That's not a long time at all. But it's clearly been very well received by market. So it's great work that you guys are doing. And Peter, we're going to come to you. Well, first of all, congratulations on your recent appointment as chair of the Manchester branch. I know it's only been a short time in this position, but how has the position been here for you so far?
Yeah, really good. I think technically I'm on day 37, but we've made some progress quite quickly. Firstly, we've got a great vice chair. That's Andy Williams, Director of Risk at Savills, who's been really helpful in selecting the rest of the board as well. We had an awful lot of interest, over 40 applications for leadership roles in total. And we have appointed leads now for operations, EDI, police liaison, testing and exercising, and marketing. I can't talk too much about it because we're just going through a process of appointing deputies for each position as well. But expect an announcement any day.
Well, very exciting. And can you walk us through a little bit about the primary goals that you have for the branch in particular? And also, I suppose, why Manchester?
Yeah, I mean, Manchester's obviously the best city in the UK. I think it's fair to say it's a natural place to go from London. We are a big city, a large population, the centre of England. There's 28,000 SIA officers working in the Greater Manchester region. So, what we did have in Manchester is a lot of companies who already sit within the City Security Council in London. So there's quite a lot of crossover. But there's also some exceptional regional suppliers, people who might be going for 10, 20, 30 years, who are quite happy in that region, saying, look, we're just going to service Manchester. So they've now had the chance to join as well. But it's very early days, but, we want to make training more accessible for the security officers in the region. We want to make sure that the City Security Council in Manchester has got a seat at the table when there's resilience planning going on. And making sure that the different authorities in the city centre, the combined authority, the Greater Manchester Police, know that they can call upon us and a large proportion of those 28,000 SIA officers in times of need.
Definitely. And obviously you've just mentioned how you're going to support those kind of local security officers. But how does this kind of contribute to the overall kind of CSC's overall objectives?
Well, expansion's important. The organisation CSC, like you said, it's only been going 5-6 years now. Manchester is the first of several expansion plans. So widening the scope, making sure that it's not just half the industry. I think we can make headway into that. And David may be sat here on another panel in a year's time, 2 years' time, saying, look, it's 75%, it's 80%, it's 90%. So an even bigger voice, an even bigger pool, an even bigger impact, making sure that, other cities can get in on some of the positives as well. I think that's, without letting anything go, that's within David's plans as well.
Definitely. And Adrian and Peter, both of you are kind of pioneering some events coming up related to the International Security Officer Day, dedicated to obviously, showing appreciation to security officers and celebrating their role. And I understand it's in collaboration with Security Industry Association. And it's taking place in both Manchester and London. So I don't know whether you could divulge a little bit of what to expect there. Adrian, perhaps we can come to you first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll be joined by Heather Bailey, who's the chair of the SIA. And we're fortunate that during the morning, actually, Heather's going to be out visiting some frontline teams throughout the city. So we've put out nominations for security companies who are member companies in the City Security Council to nominate their sites, and then we'll go and visit them on the morning, which is a great experience for the security officers and teams to be able to see, a large group of people from the CSC, but also the SIA, and they can actually understand, what are the challenges, what are the things that happen within the buildings in a bit more detail. So it's a great opportunity for that to happen. And then in the afternoon, we've got a venue in the City of London where we're hosting about 120 to 150 security officers for the afternoon, where we're going to have a lunch, which again will be supported by the SIA and all the member companies throughout London. So it's a real, it's a real great time to be able to recognise security officers for the great that they do. And obviously, with it being a 24/7 industry, 24th of July clearly is a great, the chosen date, obviously, across the globe. But I think if you look at how many times would security officers be able to be in a room with so many different companies and senior people from those organisations too, for a lunch to be able to sort of thank and recognise them, really is a great thing for us to be able to do.
Definitely. And thank you for that. And Peter, from the Manchester side of things, what are you guys doing up there?
Yeah, much of the same, to be honest. And I think Adrian's put it right. It's a bit of a thankless task sometimes working in the security industry. Collectively, we're employing 300,000 people across the UK. Primary objective is keeping people safe. And there's a lot of work goes on in the background. So it's really important from a motivational point of view to get those people in one room, really thank them for what they do day in, day out on a 24/7 basis. So much like Adrian, in the morning, we've got Michelle Russell, who's the chief executive of the SIA, out on visits, hoping to see people all over the city centre. And then we've got Figan Murray joining us. So Figan's the founder of Martin's Law. She's campaigning at the moment. She's, as we speak, she's set off on a 200-mile walk from Manchester, down to Downing Street to campaign for Martin's Law, Protect Duty to come in. And hopefully we're going to have Andy Burnham with us. So Andy Burnham's the Mayor of Manchester. Andy, if you're listening to this, we still need your reply, please. But it would be great to see him, saying a thank you as well. But the day is all about celebrating the successes of the industry, bringing people together from different organisations and putting that security officer on the pedestal for the day, making them feel really appreciated.
Well, I mean, I think it sounds like fantastic endeavours on for both London and Manchester and nationally. I mean, where there are so many different challenges facing the industry at the moment, there's a lot of negatives around kind of how difficult a security officer role is at the moment. So to actually have a positive, some positive news, some positive celebration, I think that's fantastic for all of the security, and to kind of help raise the recognition of just the sheer amount of work that the frontline officers do. They're very much they can be previously the forgotten side of the security industry, where they're so prominent and poignant and, crucial to all industries and public safety in general. So it's fantastic that you're taking that time to truly celebrate in a really great way. And I'm good luck. I'm sure it'll be a fantastic event, well, for both events. And David, just moving on to come back to you. We understand that obviously there's a cheeky exclusive announcement regarding a potential new expansion. Would you be able to share any more details about this?
Yes, of course. So Peter Harrison doing the great work he's done and seeking expressions of interest in Manchester as he did, created a wave of interest elsewhere. And across, is it the hills or the river, Peter? I'm not sure, lies the city of Liverpool. And there are a group of individuals at the moment, I won't name them just in case it all goes wrong, but there are a group of individuals working very hard with the local authority and the local bid to try and get Liverpool live on the 24th of July. Now, this is very early days. We still haven't had board ratification or anything on this yet, so I'll probably get shot for this, but work is in progress. People are working very hard to try and get this done, and I know Peter's very kindly helping the team over in Liverpool as well. And again, this is the thing for me, we are competitors, we are in a competitive environment commercially, but we all want to work together for the greater good, and be it London, Manchester or Liverpool or other cities, and we've been in talks to a few other places as well. Everyone's doing it for the same reason. They want to help each other, they want to work together and support each other. And the fact that we've got two rival companies helping each other to set up two local initiatives just expresses really what we're all about.
Definitely. And I think that collaboration is key for any kind of industry innovation or support, is making sure that those all aspects and all different businesses involved in the industry, whether it's government, whether it's manufacturers, whether it's, the actual frontline association, so on and so forth, coming together for the betterment of the industry is integral. And it's great to hear that next expansion is bringing truly nationally. All you got your south, you got your Midlands, and you got your north. So that's fantastic to hear. And could you just tell us a little bit about what opportunities, providing everything goes well, what opportunities do you foresee with the introduction of the Liverpool branch for local security professionals up there?
Well, very much as Peter's touched on with Manchester, there are some companies who aren't national by choice. They want to remain as a local organisation, who are excellent at what they do and can add value to the support and structure that we're putting together. And of course, it is about working together with like-minded people as well. And I think we were very lucky to have that support early on from the national players, which has given us the growth that we've achieved. But Peter's rightly pointed out there are many really good quality companies locally as well. And I think in Liverpool and the surrounding areas, we can have the same thing again, where like-minded people want to come together to train, to exercise, to try and help, the industry improve the impression of the industry at the moment. We struggle so much with this poor perception of the industry. So for us, the more we can bring together, the more we can do together. The high visibility days, as an example, we've done those in London 3 or 4 years in a row now. And some people think it's just a show and tell. But what it's doing is many things. One is bringing everybody together, but also showing the general public and the local police forces as well the resources actually on their doorstep that they're probably unaware of. Now, those resources are so valuable in times of need. And I mean, Adrian dealt with an example a while ago where there was a major incident outside one of his buildings in a previous role. And the team stepped in, the Security Council stepped in, and it all worked really, really well because people were trained to do their job properly. Communications went out properly to advise people it wasn't a terrorist attack. We did what we were set up to do. We communicated and we responded, and it was dealt with in a really professional way because of the way people responded in the first place.
No, definitely. And like you said, that there I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's more security officers in the UK than there are police. So it's a huge kind of resource for police, for crisis management, for times of terrorism, to make sure that everyone is trained and everyone is accurately knowledgeable about what they're doing. Fantastic to see that kind of, once again, that collaboration come in. So thank you. And Adrian, I'm coming back to you to talk a little bit more about these kind of initiatives and training coming up. Like we said, we're in this kind of constantly evolving world, whether that's the standards and regulations or politics or technology. So does the CSC provide any training for frontline officers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's been some really strong testing and exercising that's happened in London through the CSC. in my time, I think until the CSC, I don't think there'd ever been multiple companies working together the way they do today, particularly around testing and exercising. So testing and exercising can be done by one organisation in one building. That's great and absolutely should happen. But actually, when you start to look at the neighbouring buildings and the knock-on effect something such as a terrorist incident would have, they generally wouldn't just be isolated to one location. So the mass exercising that's happened, led by the CSC leadership team, particularly Lorraine Mansfield and John Felix, have done a great job in pushing that out and rolling it out throughout the whole of the City of London. So there's big exercises that have taken place. We have got one planned for later in the year, in conjunction with the City of London Police, British Transport Police, the London Ambulance Service and the Fire Brigade. And it just goes to show actually the connectivity in bringing all the blue light services together, taking the Jessup principles and actually transferring them into the private security. So using our intelligence offering that we have through the City Security Council, it really gives us that live intel to be able to drive and actually make threat-based decisions based on our training that we're going to deploy. So yeah, there's great training that happens and a whole variety based on what the threats are at the time, and it really does bring everybody together for the greater good of the UK PLC, which has got to be the ultimate aim for us. The other bit around the testing and exercising is actually it does get great publicity. So from a deterrent comms perspective and a subliminal messaging that's going out on open source. So if there was anybody untoward that's looking how the security companies cooperate with, talk with emergency services in the City of London, well, actually, you start doing a little bit of online research and very quickly you'll see that actually we really are connected. And I think that's a real strength that the City Security Council has brought to UK policing and UK security.
And actually, that's a point that I hadn't even thought of before. So that's very interesting. And in terms of obviously the training programs and the member offerings, and how are they in alignment with kind of the current needs and challenges facing frontline officers today?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just about the current needs for the officers is actually what's the current needs and the threats that people face, general public. So we're looking at how we can do joint training for, let's say, trauma medics. So not all organisations or buildings may have trauma medics in their offering. So we're able to put on trauma medic training and then actually have multiple companies that are able to attend that training. There's other things that we do around the major incident response training, desktop exercises, a multitude of different types of training and exercising that will roll out, which actually supports things like what David said earlier around the high vis day. So the last one was actually at night and involving the nighttime economy. So going around bars, clubs, restaurants, introducing each other, introducing the security officers that work in those neighbouring buildings and really growing them relationships. And at the end of the day, it's all about communication. And it is a people industry, and providing that we're communicating well and with each other, then that certainly makes us more target hardening.
Definitely. And to go into a little bit more detail about these kind of challenges that we're facing, Peter, I'm going to come back to you. As obviously one of the CSC's primary aims is to tackle obviously the terrorism threat. And obviously with Manchester's recent, well, I say recent, a few years on now, but the recent history of the Ariana Grande attack at the concert, are you seeing increased kind of risks or incidents in the UK, whether nationally or from other countries, that are down to kind of geopolitical tensions?
And I think it's safe to say that the risks are always there, ever present, and the geopolitical tension is definitely high at the moment. To an extent, we're guided by the national threat level. What I can say in Manchester is we've got an exceptional team. Manchester as a city has got muscle memory from what happened, and they've dealt with that situation. And we've got some exceptional people joining the leadership team in the City Security Council Manchester region, who've got some fantastic corporate knowledge of that, of what went on, and how we can work together to help ensure that such an incident doesn't happen again.
Definitely. And coming back to you, David, as well, how has the CSC responded to the issues? Obviously, we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis, which means budget cuts, difficult, a lot of security officers get paid minimum wage, resource cuts, a lot of these kind of other challenges that come into play and affect mental health and take a huge toll on security officers and police. How are you helping to deal with these challenges?
So firstly, we're very keen to raise awareness where we can and support initiatives that are supporting the security officers. So the Living Wage Foundation is something that we're all very keen to support. And, most of the clients really engage with us on that as well and understand that. I think if you look at the industry at the moment, we are, in my own mind, approaching a labour shortage and a critical point. We spoke with Michelle Russell at the end of last year at CSC meeting, and she announced that the renewal rate on licences was circa 50%. So the 300,000 licence holders, are renewing their licences, but only half of them are renewing their licences. The industry needs to make sure we look after our staff properly. And it's not only the pay, it's the other benefits as well. Security officers deserve to receive sick pay. They deserve to receive other benefits, the Saturday holiday fund, hospital fund, the Saturday hospital fund, for example. Why shouldn't they? So, no longer should we be pushing people for 12-hour shifts and low rates of pay. And I think we're seeing that more and more tender opportunities are coming out, and more people are now looking at the benefits staff should receive and the pay they should receive. And I think that people understand that if they want to get good people, they've got to pay accordingly. So I'm hoping that the work that's going on through the council and organisations who are part of the council are helping with security officers and their welfare, particularly around their mental health. There's a lot of work going on in the suicide awareness arena as well. Lots of different people are doing lots of different things now. And I think we are finally getting it that the frontline security officers are our biggest asset. And we've got to look after them and treat them right, because we're going to run out of people otherwise, and we're not going to have anyone in the industry. So we've got a big issue ahead of us, I think.
Definitely. And that's, that's not just for front officers, that's for the entire industry, recruitment and retention in a lot of industries, including the fire industry, there's a lot of difficulty with changing the kind of the taboo reputation almost of the security industry. And actually, there are so many different avenues within security that, young people can go down. But it's not something that is offered or quite understood much from a young age. So there is recruitment and retention issues. And that's quite, like you said, a critical issue for the security profession. Adrian, I don't know whether you have, being based in London, whether you have any thoughts on kind of how we can help change that reputation, or what CSC are implementing to kind of address these challenges.
Yeah, I think it's the perception of what the role is, and the age old, yes, it's 60 hours a week, or it's a 4 on 4 off, 12-hour shifts. I think if you look at what COVID did for us in terms of the footfall in buildings, and I'm talking here, I guess, from a more Monday to Friday office-based scenario or working building, the footfall in buildings Mondays and Fridays is very low. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be a lot higher. So we don't necessarily need to map the rosters the way they historically have been, and to say that's the way it always is, and that's because we need X amount of people on those days. We can actually evolve it to map the footfall of the building, which gives us greater support from a risk perspective, because you can have higher numbers when you've got the highest footfall. So I think it's just looking at things a little bit differently and thinking, okay, can we do job shares? Can we split days between people, or multiple individuals, so that actually the hours are slightly different to make it more attractive? So there's a whole host of things that can be looked at, as opposed to just being the age-old security way of working in terms of that set shift pattern. I think then the promotion through things like what David and Peter actually were both talking about, really around, training, benefits, what we can offer people, the PR, the International Security Officers Day. How many security officers would have met with Figan Murray and be able to sit and listen to her story? Having heard it a number of times personally, it's inspirational every single time. And I think security officers being able to see that and actually see that that's the involvement, it does go a long way. And I think that's how we can support the attraction to get people into the industry.
Definitely. And, you know, like we said earlier, the events that you're putting on to celebrate the people in these roles as well, you know, that positivity is key as well to help change that reputation around. And that focus on a better work-life balance, better mental health, better support, and better rewards for the job that you're doing.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think for me, retention's always been the first step to recruitment. So everyone can, or we all focus heavily on how we recruit and what we can do, but actually we want to really focus on retention. And I think if we look after our people, and even if we don't have those benefits across every organisation today, then maybe just go and have a look at the engagement of what you have with people. And if security officers are leaving and going to a different industry, then those are the ones that we really want to speak to and understand the reasons why they've left the industry, and really try and drive the retention rates across the business and across ultimately the whole of the industry.
No, definitely. And just before we close, David, I'm going to come back to you. You opened it, so you can close the session. For anyone obviously watching today that would like to get involved in the good work that the CSC are doing, how would you advise they start?
So we have a website, thecitysecuritycouncil.co.uk. Click on there, and there's a piece about us and what we're about, and also membership requirements, and an application form to fill in and complete, which is then sent to the board for review. And subject to certain criteria, if the company's successful, they'll be invited to join. If not, we'll guide them on how they can proceed to get the required standards in place so they can join us. We are an inclusive organisation. We are, it's not just a place for the big boys. We have some very small companies involved who have gained great experience from this. So, all are welcome, but we want people to work to the highest possible standards. ACS is a minimum. And even then, we would want to ensure that people's behaviour and their standards are as they should be. There are concerns around licensing and certification sometimes. So, we're very robust to ensure that we are not compromised by somebody who has got the certification but not doing what they should be doing. So we are self-policing, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, David. I really appreciate it. And David, Peter, Adrian, I really want to thank you for your time. And it's been great getting to know a little bit more about CSC. If anybody has any further questions, you can either reach out to the panelists here, or you can go to the City Security Council exhibitor booth in the exhibitor section of the platform. Enjoy the rest of your days, guys. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks very much. Thanks.